You're
Yeah.
so
Huh?
what's the deal with Clussy?
What?
What?
Huh?
You know what? You'll have to play Ace Attorney 4, 5, and 6 to find out.
Oof, I'm gonna readjust my mic real quick. It is a comfortable day today.
The Clussy is forbidden and cursed, though.
Can we turn that up? Oh, the remote was literally right next to me.
Wow.
We are snacking on some grapes today.
Woo!
Grapes.
Why is it so quiet? It did
Sure
this
are.
last
Yeah,
time,
it did.
too.
It did do this last time as well.
Yeah,
Was
it
it,
was
like,
really quiet today on a YouTube video as well.
on our YouTube video?
No. Like a YouTube video.
It's on the TV.
So then it's
Yes.
a TV thing.
Okay, that's actually better, though, if it's a TV thing. That's terrifying.
That
We turned
That
it,
is
literally turned
so-
the volume up to 100.
yeah.
And it still sounds like kind of...
It's
like,
better.
normal now. Everything good. Voices.
Bop 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 bop.
Have Chonk on, right?
Anyway, last we left off, Susato
Yeah, what
is a
about her?
lawyer.
That's right.
No, she isn't.
No, she isn't.
Ryutaro is a lawyer.
Ryutaro is a lawyer.
Ryutaro Ryunosuke.
Ryutaro is going to defend Soga King.
Perjury. That would be his crime.
Identity theft is not a joke.
God, Usopp would make a great Ace Attorney NPC.
He basically already is one.
For sure.
Would it be at the Enos lobby?
I did read that, sorry. I'm so sorry, Susato. It would be after his lobby. I would have told you about the toxin.
Right. Should have told me about the toxin.
Sorry, that would have been mad toxic. Aha.
You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone.
No, that's not it at all. I was scared of my failure coming to light. That's all.
That's it.
That's it. So I hope to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out.
Ah.
Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? You had no doubt in your mind about my innocence? That you'd stand by me to the last?
I remember.
And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor.
You are asking for the Susato slam.
The sacred Susato slam.
Well, you know, it must be done.
No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. And she's getting into it.
Damn. Okay.
Alright,
All
she a
right.
freak for real, for real.
We can talk about this later. I'm no better, you know.
Oh,
Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pull the knife blade from Miss Brett's back. There was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you.
Susato.
I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be by your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer.
Oh, no, no.
I think this situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson.
Huh? The swivel that characters are on always just destroys me.
Yeah.
Without fail.
This Susato, like, turning in place 90 degrees.
Ugh. No, it was raised like slight little adjustment.
Yes, Father, that fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now, so, Ray, will you pilot the machine?
Yes.
Can you find it in your heart to fly this machine?
No. Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Aw.
Oh, Ray.
I was so scared, when it happened, I didn't know what was going on. The English woman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying.
I know it was you who stole the poison. Oh wait, that was you. Well now, whatever do you mean? Whoops.
Then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet, before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back.
With her beak?
That poor goose.
Indeed.
It all happened right before my eyes.
And you were the only people in the hut at the time?
That's right, just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she possibly could have been stabbed like that. I hate that the solution to this is to just... There was a hole in the back of the hut. And some dude just...
There's a hole in the hut. A great mystery indeed.
I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up.
It will be alright. However it happened and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you I'm gonna prove everything you've said you saw is true. And to prove all that.
Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you?
It's so weird that you're alive.
Yeah, they haven't addressed that yet, have they?
No.
We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order.
Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now.
Trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. Police won't have any way of testing for it, nor do they know what half of those words mean yet.
Are you shitting me, my girl?
I love alkaloids. Yes, but this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin.
Can I put this into the court record?
Chemical reagent?
Please.
Chemical reagent?
I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters.
Oh, okay.
I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case.
Oh!
In case you get thirsty.
Be warned, the reagent is just as toxic as the poison.
Does someone have the chat pulled up?
Oh, is it not pop up on screen?
It should be.
Just for like,
I will check.
redemptions.
What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet.
It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret.
It's all the Englishwoman's doing.
What?
It was when the professor and Soseki-sen were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swanned in, and without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba,
Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on that substance there.
It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Soseki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction.
So then, Soseki-san knew about the poison.
Yes, and it's highly likely. The reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too.
This? Manny Memo-san.
oh, that name.
By the way, did that reporter join you at all when you went to the beach?
Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there.
Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there.
Oh?
A little-known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Soseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office.
Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted it anonymously to the police.
Ah,
Yes, that must be what happened.
counsel! Just heard that the new witness is ready to testify. The trial's about to resume. Please proceed to the courtroom at once. Yuck.
It's time to steel ourselves once again then. Defense attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Yes.
Yeah. That's me.
Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything, so I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day.
I can't wait for the nub on Ouchie's head to get cut off again.
No.
I don't even know.
A courtroom.
What was this judge's voice? I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Redmond Bonnie. Prosecutor Ouchie, have you summoned the new witness?
Can you hand me a grape?
Before I address the question, Your Excellency, let me just eat a grape. Some very important news to share.
Oh, news!
Oh?
What news? And why does he look so happy about it?
During the recess with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life.
Excellent, I admire your rapid handling of the matter.
As if it wasn't because of this man who's standing right next to me.
Literally. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course.
I had the reagent delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in time. But judging by the man's swagger, I feel we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable.
And the council, what were the results?
This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade.
What? Are you sure about this?
I would stake the reputation of the police on it. Didn't she have a fucking drink in her hand or something?
Oh.
Armed with the reagent, the test is incredibly simple. They couldn't have made a mistake.
The murder weapon has been entered into the court record.
In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness.
Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well. Officer, bring in the witness.
No trace of poison on the knife? But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body?
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. But also, you want to look at these new pieces of evidence we just got?
Oh, you know what? That's a pretty good idea.
Too productive.
Alright, wait, no, that's not new. Alright, once again, this is the incriminating photograph. Incriminating.
Incriminating indeed. Bottle.
Label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know.
German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help, I'm afraid.
Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'd all be able to read it.
German is the international language of medicine, my dear. And yes, I can certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Although I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate.
Makes sense to me? Small kniff. Blood.
Yes, this must be the victim's blood.
Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I'm having to fight the urge to run it under a hot tap and get it clean.
You've been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you?
I think this is something else, Father.
On the handle, simple as.
Boom.
Ooh. What's that, that first crime scene photo look like again? Yeah, wine glass. Easy. Case open, case shut.
Easy.
Easy clap.
Well, how to get in the wine glass?
Alright.
Woo!
Then who is voicing this fella?
There's a really, really good way to decide this.
Okay.
Like a really good way to
Oh.
decide this. What's his name, Nick?
Writing mini memo.
Eeny, meeny, miny. I fucked myself. So. And yeah, it's. I fucked myself. Meeny, miny, mo.
Right, mini mo.
Mini memo.
Mini
Mini
memo.
memo. He's playing mini mo.
Eeny, meeny, memo.
Mini memo.
Eeny.
Eeny, meeny, mimi, memo.
What is this? Oh God. Right,
Alright,
mini
what-
memo. Whoa,
Sorry,
whoa,
just a second.
whoa.
Just a second. I don't know how old he is.
He's
My
not there
bad.
yet.
Oh, true. Writing mini memo of the show you news on what people like to call a journo.
What's a giorno, father? Do you know?
Really
The
shitty
fifth
Joestar.
protagonist of JoJo's simply a contradiction of journalist.
I'm right there where the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero or the herald for nothing. Oh, his boobs just popped. The nice guy of news.
I'm a nice guy. Oh, so it was you who took this photograph, was it?
Well, what are we here?
I'm sorry.
Oh, brace yourselves, people! Mini Memo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. We will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format in the morning edition.
Huh?
Right then, let's start with your name.
Oh, it's Ryutaro Naruhodo.
Next, what made you want to become a lawyer?
Well, I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose.
Ryutaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see.
I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's string for a while.
By the way, my name is Taketsuki Aochi. That's Taketsuchi Aochi. The so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear in every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What?
Witness!
Yes?
What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. If it was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday.
I'm so
It's
happy.
okay, take your time.
I'm so happy I'm not the only one tripping up over my words.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a journo if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that, now would I? Sometimes story call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my many memoism. Many memoism.
My many memoism. Nice. Many memoism.
Ah yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Soseki-san.
That's right. That was me. Many memo again. How many fucking times am I gonna have to say his name?
But you were supposed to be going back to show you news offices after our meeting.
What the scoop is, I didn't. That English woman's words had piqued my journalistic interest.
Miss Brett's words?
Criminal left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen? It was done. This country's judiciary is rotten to the core.
Damn. You said it, Butto.
Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my mini memo pack. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's alright. Here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Serious criminal going on some junket. People need to know about this. God, his fucking choice of words. That's why I decided to sneak after him. Get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press and in the back with a
Damn,
knife.
you sound kind of stalkerish.
You mean to say you
Not gonna lie.
did indeed witness the murder firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph?
Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journo eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder on my trusty camera.
Thank you, Mini Memo-san. You will now give a formal testimony to the
You will
court.
now be given a testimony to give formally to the court.
You will state exactly what it is you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. Oh my god.
Each hut was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The English woman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife. Throwing the English woman to the floor, she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journal spirit burst into flames quick as a flash. I whipped up my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through it for the perfect shot. How would you see all that if the screen wasn't already there?
Read screens, you say?
Right, you can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. Hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. Just enough room for a knife to slip through.
Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief from the summer heat.
It was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up.
Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment that the defendant entered the hut?
Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing, from start to finish.
And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens?
Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. Pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. Tenacity of purpose is considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's many memoism in a nutshell.
At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict.
No.
Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful.
Nevertheless, it cannot be denied. He's the judge now. His voice has changed 3 times. Who am I? That's his testimony, begs. Very large question.
Yeah, I like that. That Susanoo was like, I smell some shit.
Oh yeah. Who are you?
What question?
Exclusive news. Exclusive news. A startling photograph. All the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published?
Ooh, that's right.
You let go? It seems that there were circumstances at play here yet to be understood.
More pathetic excuses.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest.
Okay, is that like literal? Like, are there more pictures? How literal is that?
Mata.
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place?
Call it journo instinct. Can you think of a better reason?
I don't know. Perhaps you are, as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman.
I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painted the journo as a voyeur.
It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge.
Nope, you've got it all wrong, little student boy.
I am student boy, yes.
To my mind, all that was inside that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender, man or woman, it's all news. That's not even memoism, it's basic journalism.
If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate.
Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on?
Tell the court then, witness, what sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut?
A sight that vindicated my journo instinct, that's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day.
So you actually saw Minbami-san entering the hut.
Yep, and she was raging like my journo spirit.
And the argument you mentioned, what was it about exactly?
You stole it, I didn't steal it, that kind of thing.
Talking about the poison, I suppose.
Student girl walked right up to the English woman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she'd laid her into her anymore, there would have been eggs. Oh.
That's a line.
That's
Wow.
he's been like teetering on this sort of thing the entire time, and this is just like, oh.
That man should have been an author.
I wasted on journalism.
Miko Toma is just like your voice acting role.
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Hey, lay on eggs.
Hey, got the
Hello.
truth.
Good day.
Students' rantings fell on deaf ears like a Japanese person's listening to English for the first time.
He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest.
No, let him go. Let his freak flag fry.
Fry the
Whoa!
Fry the fleek flag.
Freak flag fly. There we go. Anyway, the point is that the woman in the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment I caught on film. Ooh. I'm gonna do that to my spine.
Yeah. Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place?
The precise moment? I didn't just see that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out, from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Oh no, not another one of these. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here on my memo pad. First peered into the hut. Sure, that English woman was on this stool at the back of the hut here. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirms that.
She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down.
It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt.
Ugh.
And the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. They started smooching. After a while, them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. Oh. The English woman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. In a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. Hey, that goes against his testimony. He said he shoved her down. That she shoved her down.
Ah.
What you describe as a grim crime indeed.
Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what many memoism says.
Check out the beach hut plans.
By the way, Manny Memo-san, whilst you were watching the terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the string, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film?
Journalists have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's all Ryzen deter. That's, yep.
Your raisin dessert.
Yep. That's my Ryzen dessert.
So you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all?
Obviously not. Observer always remains on the outside looking in.
And that's something to be proud of, is it?
Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony.
Father, what are you?
I will grant the defense's request. Many Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement.
Well, nihilism is the foundation of many memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless.
Oh, yeah?
Really? You didn't set inside the hut at all? You didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that?
I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to breaking point already.
Oh, I see. You were scared. Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you. Yeah.
All I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot.
Sorry, Nick just handed me like a lot more grapes than I imagined he could.
But now your grapes are
I-
good.
Give me-
You're good on grapes for a
yeah,
while.
I am.
Give me some of those.
You want grapes?
Yeah.
Give me some grapes.
Grapes come like in such these huge bags, and there are just so many of them.
It's good.
Oh yeah, that is
Adequate.
not a complaint. Not in the slightest.
It is the opposite of a problem.
Briggles, Amy, I hope you're doing well.
Hello.
What's up, Amy?
How you doing?
Memoism and humanism don't always agree. Most of the time in those instances, many memoism comes out on top.
Huh.
As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, that's spot on.
Surely he's making all this up.
He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating.
But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't he?
If that's how you feel, I suggest you trust your instincts. That's what everything he said.
I suggest that you look through the court record to see if there's anything that stands out to you.
I cannot remember this man's voice for like more than 5 seconds.
He does so like a good use of grape.
That's exactly what the
Yeah, you
problem
want
is.
grapes? Yeah. As you've seen many times before in your role as judicial assistant.
Yes, I have.
This
I've
is
seen-
my voice now. I can remember this.
I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do.
It's Choose Goose.
Oh god. Old Shotty reads. Pull a knife. Throwing her to the floor. Okay, do we press the plans against that? Because that directly correlates to him saying that she like dodged and then just stabbed her in the back.
Is this the new statement?
No, this is not the new statement.
And we just pressed the new statement.
Is that the new statement?
Yes. Does that sound right to you?
Go back one.
I think you need to examine the evidence more.
Well, look at the evidence. Then. If Nick says we should look at the evidence.
There's something you looked at before, but it didn't have any significance at the time, but now it does.
Oh, I can even see the small hole in the reeds.
I feel like that camera made a much larger hole than just this, you know?
Because the reeds would have like gone. They would have reed seeded. Like we saw before.
You know how they died?
How'd they die?
Were they poisoned?
Choked on a grape.
Definitely. Definitely.
Oh.
I mean, so my running theory is that they put the poison in the wine she was drinking, and wine is made from grapes. So like, I think you're right. I think you're legitimately right. Okay, look at the chemical region again. Can you examine the top? No.
What piece of evidence is changed in significance now that the specific person has been introduced into the crime?
Oh, the newspaper article. Yeah?
That's what we used to connect him to the crime.
Right, because he took that photo with that thing in his lens. Ah.
Can be examined in 3 dimensions.
3 dimensions? It must be...
Whoa.
Wait. Wait a second.
Oh, she was gripping the pen. She
Oh
was
yeah?
gripping his pen.
Oh,
She
yeah?
was gripping his pen, alright.
Oh, could be a bit, if you know what I mean.
God damn it, why can't I remember his name?
Who?
The guy who you voiced like that.
I want to see our characters. I don't remember what this man's first name is.
You go to the present.
Ryunosuke Many Memo.
And then what?
Oh, where is the character?
And then what?
Normally it's,
Right? Okay, cool. So it's not just me then. So you're saying that the pen is what we...
On the news statement where he says he never like met her, but then how would she have gotten the pen? I guess is the train of thought.
Aha! Many memos, son. Until now, I've had a firm belief that the newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth.
You're spot on there. Press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoujo News on my arm. In a way, that's more Many Memoism.
Sadly, though, it seems that the journalists who write for the papers don't always share the same passion for the truth.
Well, what are you suggesting with these recriminatory words, Counsel?
give me time, Your Honor.
Many memos, and do you recognize its fountain pen? This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. I thought it was weird that he was licking a pencil.
Yeah, he lost his pen.
He lost his pen. This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died.
What are you...
If you lick the barrel of this pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. RM.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Counsel, the initials of the accused, Ray Mamami.
I'm good at this, thanks. Oh.
Is it a coincidence, I wonder,
I could be a lawyer.
Yeah, we're going to law school now.
that your initials are also RM?
Ronald McDonald.
Right. Oh, right, and that's right.
That's right.
No! He's writing memos.
Write and many memo. RM.
He's writing many,
Many
memos.
memos.
I hate this. I hate this game. I hate this game. That's horse dung. Can't you see? One of the central tenets of many memoism is being a pencil user.
And yet, as the court will clearly be able to
Ronald
see
Mac-
your right hand, there is a very obvious blue ink stain.
Ronald Many McDonald.
It would appear you must have rather carelessly left us somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is.
Horsey horse dung! Your voice terrifies me!
Many Memo-sen, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Shoujo News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM there are stars in the night sky.
The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky.
Damn. Hmm?
And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that will undeniably prove who its owner really is.
In that case, counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies.
Of course, Your Excellency.
Where's the emblem?
Oh yeah, that's it.
There it is,
That's
Your
the
Honor.
That spot.
Oh,
Oh
God.
yeah, we have to like. It's so weird.
Kokudai.
As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will, of course, recognize. Many Memo-san.
Goodness me, it's the emblem of the Shoyu News.
In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News, whose initials are RM.
Yeah, just need some flour on the pen.
A little bit of flour. I'm sure Hairlock's cooking up something.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem that numerous, do they?
Numbers.
Well, Many Memo-san, how do you respond?
No. Order. Explain yourself, witness.
Well, I was just joshing around, Judge. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets?
I've used nothing but honest tactics.
Tic-tacs.
Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. It's not long before that grim tragedy unfolded. I, a Shoyo News reporter, on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman.
An interview?
You never mentioned this before!
When exactly was this?
As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief little exchange. But it came to nothing. As we many memoirs say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news.
However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will identify and testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired.
Got it, yes, alright, but
But,
on one condition.
excuse me?
Condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san.
What does Soseki have to do with this?
Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own, and brace yourselves. It's not a harmless one, it's big.
What? What?
Many memoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Oh, that's fucked up.
Yep.
Very well, I will grant the witness's request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand.
Oh god, I'm both witnesses.
Oh shit.
Soseki-san hiding something?
God, his movements are so fucking good.
Yep.
Sublime.
I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss.
You said... Okay.
Watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why many memoism demands I reveal it now.
You mean to say the victim?
The victim regained consciousness? Well, and when she did, you decided to ask her a question? That's, true. Yes. He did, and that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a conversation. Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question. I don't deny it. She could no longer speak. She was barely conscious even.
Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. The court must and will know the truth.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow? What on earth could have happened in that hut? Secret.
Secret tunnel.
You asked her for an interview, you say?
Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year.
About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life?
No, he's still alive. That's not the way I phrased it. Many memoism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson, is how I put it to her.
Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler.
Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that.
And how did Miss Brett answer?
With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Whew! That told me. So I waltzed right out of there.
Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together.
Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall. I say it's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that.
That was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away.
Persistence wins the prize. Any memoist will tell you that. Let me think you've left, then just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop. And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence.
Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness.
But you found me. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide.
I'm sure.
Please do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say. Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here, and I'm going to tell it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this prosecutor just, like, 100% deserves to go to jail.
Absolutely. It was more like... It was a more beautiful top knot in the first case, but then when we beat his ass, he got it, like, literally chopped off.
Yep.
With a samurai sword.
And so Seki-sen remained behind the hut?
That's right, yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes. Mustache twitching, eyes bulging. What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that haunted me whilst traveling abroad. Back behind baleful bars. They'll be coming for me, surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I were gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat.
Yuko's hair grew back at least.
Or so Seki-san. His experiences in London have scarred him deeply.
The world seemed to close in around me. I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely.
Those sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please.
And now we've come to the crucial part. That's when it happens. Bang.
Bam, bam, bam. What question? What exactly did he say?
Well, now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Riker Man? Is it you, yokel hack? What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman? Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see.
Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man.
And all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, young girls' panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air.
Ray.
I ran up the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosonaga saw Miss Brett in the ground, he sprinted off to get help.
We buried her in the sand after that.
And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan, a moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin!
But what did you ask her, Soseki-san?
I asked her, who did this to you?
The corpse castle.
Corpse Castle!
Corpse party!
Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond?
So that's how the beach episodes go. Gotcha.
She didn't. She said nothing in response. What?
Just make him tremble even faster.
I feel like it's shaking. When in the stand, he will answer the questions asked of you, unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony.
I will.
So you tried to find out who the culprit was.
He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever. Having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever.
Ain't that the truth?
However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct? I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese!
Oh, dear Soseki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems.
I read the report. I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia.
Oh, God, it fucking... Whew. The Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Writer Man? Well, yes. Alright, she did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. Here's a magnificent mustache. Oh, that's new. She pointed.
Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant? So Saki-san, is this really true?
It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, with the student girl standing on the far side of her. When I asked her, who did this to you? The Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut. At the literal back of the hut, though,
The
not
back
at
of the
her.
hut.
She's being literal. Which was, it cannot be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today.
No.
Soseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony?
But fiddlesticks, I say!
This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese.
Yes, of course, the Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. Thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. Somewhere at the back of the hut where nobody was standing at all.
You mean that your memory of the events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear?
Yes, that's it. Unclear. I'm very, very unclear. God, Soseki's a whole mood.
Yep.
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing, except for the fact that we've already established that the reporter was there like 15 times. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could have possibly committed this crime.
I am inclined to agree, and in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial.
No. No!
Headline's right itself. Catching lawyers Hope Stash, 92 points across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition.
Terrible blow, Susato! Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over.
But that's impossible, Father. You don't even know how the crime was committed yet.
Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all the details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need.
Ray gave to us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechambers before the trial resumed. She told us that what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed.
Doing that voice is the only way I can remember what voice I'm doing for him. I kept trying to do normal old guy voices and literally forgot every time he spoke.
It's like a new old guy every time. New old man just dropped. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet.
Feet.
Before collapsing on the floor in front of me with a knife in her back.
How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty, but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all that information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question.
I take it back then, that the defense has nothing further to add?
So the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter.
This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding, and how did he or she stab the victim? I know how!
You want grapes?
I want grapes.
Got any grapes?
What does it get?
Hey.
No floor grapes. There you go.
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication fuck, for the time being.
Oh, to what end, counsel?
The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Alternative theory? Huh? None exists.
There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time. By mustering all the remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction. Fantasy.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You are in a video game.
I am self-aware. Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative. If your game characters ever become self-aware, turn the console off immediately. It's dangerous.
He knows too much.
So, young Ryotaro Naruhodo,
Yes, Your Excellency.
you will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the victim was concealed?
The who?
The culprit was concealed.
Naruhodo-san would never give up, and I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here.
I hope Ryunosuke gets to like read about this case in the papers overseas.
He
at
did
some
what?
point. No, he's like, wow, this Ryutaro guy sounds pretty cool.
Oh, I
Oh,
want to meet
yeah.
him. You're suggesting the culprit was outside.
What?
Order, order, order.
But student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all. You just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about. I can swear to that. Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there's no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut.
Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that that this is precisely the way Miss Brett was killed.
You're bluffing! You're bluffing, you yokel!
The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend.
Clearly.
You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. Hold my hand. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut? Explain like I'm a second grader.
Would it be this because that thing's in the back there?
Well, that can be explained by him saying that's where you snapped the photo. Maybe?
It just has to be possible, though.
I mean, this shows this giant hole in the back of the hut.
I don't know if it's giant or if it's just like way closer to the camera lens there.
Corroborates your theory that they were stabbed from outside.
All it has to do is facilitate the possibility.
Well, the pictures could do it then, yeah?
Is that a nod?
Do they facilitate the possibility?
Send it. Or maybe save first and then send it? I don't know.
Ah, you're at 5
I'm-
health, whatever, it's fine.
You're so wrong! I'm going to take away all 5 of your hearts now! Goodbye! Oh, fiddlesticks.
Counsel! I'm the judge now!
Something of a windfall.
I think the one you were looking for, counsel, was downfall.
If your theory is correct and the knife was thrust into Miss Brett's back from outside the hut, there should be a new visible trace somewhere.
A trace?
Oh,
Yeah, on the hut
so then the
itself.
first picture, yeah.
Ayo. The defense would like to present a different piece of evidence.
Go ahead. You get 4 attempts. And then, it's game over. The original photographic print of the crime scene.
Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
You take us for fools. There's no hint of any such thing.
I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to.
Counsel, once again, I must call on you to pretend like I'm a 4th grader. Where are you talking about?
Look closely. Here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't. I can't see any such thing.
It's true that the hut in question has 4 walls as you'd expect. However, by parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them.
This is extraordinary.
Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut.
Ah,
And of everyone present at the scene, there is only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Right in Many Momo-san. It could have only been you.
Now! This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this farcical scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
No, of course not.
We're not?
If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death,
inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable.
A stool. That's
Have a-
poop.
have another look at the photograph. You can see that Miss Brett shot
shot
herself
herself.
right there.
The poop's right there, officer.
The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool.
My word. So, in fact, the victim was...
killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen. Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut before the defendant, Nimbami-san, appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. By your silence, Money Memo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge.
Time for the evil Vilma.
This is absurd!
Holy shit! That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Nimbani-san, is innocent of the crime.
It's not that easy.
Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave.
I must say, I've never been more proud, my dearest!
Son, I am your son.
This can't be! The Ouchie clan can't! What of my growth? My growth of hope! It wasn't all an apparition! I can't accept this! I won't!
There's no fucking way it's over.
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial.
I don't either.
I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by...
Oh, there it is.
I took more photos.
Here's the villain laugh.
Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals?
But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut through the reed screen walls.
And no one but you was in place at the time to have his hand in the hilt of the blade! It's a perfectly logical deduction!
So, your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now.
Irrelevant.
Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, it's the poison. The poison that killed Cusco. Cusco's poison. This trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else. I've gone mad with power.
What the foik are you talking about?
Brace yourselves, little man, and I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up.
What?
Enough obscurity, explain yourself, witness.
What to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course. The poison? Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? With that terrifying tongue of yours. I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? It's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right?
That is correct! The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this...
I see. Please say no more. I'm begging you. The victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed?
Ah!
Given that the pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated within her circulatory system.
What the fuck is happening? Tisha! How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely. It matters not a jot who stabbed whom in the back and with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Forgotten already, have we, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving But the blade and the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. It was grapes all along.
Ugh.
So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turns out to be a headline-making red herring. That about right?
I'm gonna cry.
Order, order, order! But where does that leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There's an undeniably obvious answer to that! The lady imbibed it!
You
She
mean
drank
she
it?
drank it?
She drank. Have a look at the photograph here, as you can see. Grape juice. A bottle of carbonated water and a glass had been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. This poison could have been slipped into either.
So somebody made Miss Brett drink it.
Oh, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, it's been established already.
Established? What are you talking about?
Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you.
Me? What the fuck is he talking about?
Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is a prime press fodder, this is.
It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony.
That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency.
You claim to be impossible, but you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim.
I'm a journo and a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm not about to start now because that's many memoism.
For a brief moment, I thought I had illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us?
Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman. And it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? It's fucking game.
Of course I'm innocent, I stabbed her!
I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing. It got my goat. If the court weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done.
What? I thought he was an observer! So you admit it then, that everything happened as I described. That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the read screen.
You can blame this miserable country of ours. Country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. Yeah, that's you! What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back, I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there.
How do you feel about this, Soseki-san?
He's thinking about laying on the eggs.
I'm waiting for the, like, we're gonna press him and then Soseki's gonna go, oh! And then we're gonna have to press Soseki on, like, some bullshit. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before.
Yeah, you look so guilty.
so beat up about it. As it turns out, somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart.
You're implicating Ray again.
She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journal here is off the hook.
The argument is sound.
What is it?
Oh yeah, that's
Certainly.
a sound argument,
I am
alright.
easily swayed. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he only needed to have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical.
Just nonsense. It's conjecture.
Therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical.
This is
All
Reddit.
right.
We're on Reddit.
All right.
That's right, it is logical and true.
Please stop using that word. I'm glad you've all seen the light.
Oh God.
Justice at last.
This is unbelievable. And after I'd made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he gonna get away with it now? Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel.
This is my final gavel.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial.
Whoa.
I'm gonna pee while you solve the case.
Yes, Your Excellency. Goodbye, Your Excellency. So you do admit that you had murderous intentions toward Miss Brett, then?
The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice.
Your sense of... he's claiming some sort of righteous indignation?
He was pure evil, a cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on our Empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance, so I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice, put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it.
So, in summary, murderous intentions, then?
Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight, so I had to do what was right for society.
Yet a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay.
Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all.
I only stab women in the back, no big deal.
Oh, God.
So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim?
Obviously, that'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these.
The accused administered the poison, following which this victim stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel. Who knows, you may even learn something here today.
Consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim.
Oh my God.
Do something that evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning.
That's not the kind of law this court upholds.
You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim, then, witness.
Tell me about how much you hate women, you incel.
It's all my book of many memoisms.
What exactly were they arguing about?
What happened in that restaurant 9 months ago? That's what.
Oh, that's what they were arguing about.
Oh. Student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing a beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, Dr. John H. Wilson, Professor of Medicine. Invited here by England from Professor
With no known relatives overseas. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered.
Jeered.
Her case was to be heard by British Consular Court in Shanghai. However, there is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It's eating that student girl up inside. You could see it. I really felt for her.
Amy,
Hold it.
Amy, are you still there, by the way? Just curious.
Whoa.
Ooh.
I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it. No, you can't.
Tsuseki really wants to say something.
Ooh.
Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen.
Oh, she's just up in the witness stand.
But this awful man is making all this up. Chisato, please, you...
Oh. Ususato.
Return to the dock at once, Membani-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Yeah, I don't know who Susato is.
I don't know that. I don't know them.
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness.
Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, great peeping Tom. Whoa, take it easy there.
I only stabbed a woman in the back. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say.
Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks.
I will grant the request of the defendant.
But, Your Excellency, my apes!
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak.
Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Yo, are we really not... Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha.
Oh, it's just adding on.
Stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean?
I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true! Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison.
So true, bestie!
But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed! All victims, all all visitors are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen, the poison would be getting very difficult.
That's why it was in the pen.
Whoa!
It's true, I pestered Dr. Mikutoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited the laboratory. When I left, I was searched from top to tail.
Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we've been developing. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse.
Oh, they're doing the same...
Oh, they are.
They have the same pose.
Yep.
Cute.
It's the thing.
I love it when Ace Attorney does that.
Obviously, I gave nothing away, other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance.
Very ashamed of myself, it's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye, surely you can understand that. Find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. Told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. Military would be dragged into it. Whole government even. It would be a complete disaster.
And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curled those beautiful lips of hers, and she said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually.
Ah, yes. Mini Memo-san, one small question, if you don't mind.
Are you Japanese?
I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy?
Clearly you were from outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard.
Oh.
Interesting.
Exclusive! Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are far too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else.
Sorry, don't know what you're talking about.
Why are you sweating?
Sweat when I'm innocent.
Yes, look at this. The entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett. Word for word.
Well, Many Memo-san.
As a journo and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. I made it up. That's a founding principle of any memoism.
Bob's clearly right about this. That reporter did write the article, and he based it on what he overheard from the outside hut. From outside the hut.
That's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up, my stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record.
Very well. You may amend your formal testimony.
Oh, can he?
Ha! 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 Alright, that's all. Did you get that down? The point is, if you'd poison someone, there'd be no reason to then go and stab the person as well. But then you could frame...
Perhaps you'd add the efficacy, efficacy, oh god, of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die.
That's horse dung.
What?
That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you'd even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens.
Once the victim had taken the poison, she had peppered all over her. She would have been only minutes away from death.
It was just completely to, like, frame Ray.
And yet this man proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to have been a good reason for that.
It would, if it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut.
Yes, that's undeniable.
But between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, it would be one very crucial change in the situation.
What?
The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman.
Ah, yeah, that's it.
Are we going to test the fucking ink on his hand, and is it gonna have the fucking poison on it?
Won't you find out?
I'm gonna shit your pants.
Okay, well,
Not my pants!
that's my money minimum. Then first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That could be the key here.
If the victim were of the poison already, the reporter would have no reason to stab her. On the face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable.
But there's no question that the man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder.
If we could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her even after the poisoning, I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for.
Yes, I agree. And in order to do that, I must try to glean more information. Alright.
Because why would I have bothered to stab her if I'd already poisoned her? Student girl and Pump's were arguing, it got my gold, but she didn't.
Do you remember which piece of evidence got updated with more information?
It was...
Poison article. So the article itself didn't get updated, but just the fact that he got all this information from eavesdropping between a conversation on them two. A conversation that was in English.
Mm-hmm.
He got the information while they were talking about the stolen poison. Did he... Okay, so then wait. Sequence of events. He was there at the presentation where they initially talked about the poison, and then snuck out a small amount of the poison within his pen. Well, the game hasn't stated that. That's pretty much like the only way this could have happened.
Mm-hmm. Remember, not much information was given away when the professor talked about it.
I want to
Initially.
go through this one more time.
Which one was this?
This was the one that she popped in during...
Okay.
That's good.
That's really good.
Don't say that.
Type. Student, be aware that your humor is not appreciated in this courtroom.
I can't be funny out here.
What's the next line?
Can you start at the beginning with the lines? I want to read all the lines one more time.
Yo.
I stabbed her. That's why I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I had already poisoned her?
This is maybe stupid. I feel like I'm wrong. What if he didn't fucking realize that? I was gonna say, what if he didn't realize he poisoned her? And then, no. Hold up. That don't make sense at all.
I'd say if you can answer his question, then you've blown a hole in his case, right?
Correct.
Not this one, but the one on the third statement.
He's only got one question.
Why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I've already poisoned her? Stab a woman after you've already poisoned her. What's the evidence? Postmortem, crime scene, second Natsume. Very small amount of liquid still inside. Can you read the article again? Following the lecture. Very disturbing incident. Place deadly poison secretly developed, stolen. False amount entered the body, mouth or wound. Explained, fatal minutes. Cannot detect the newly developed chemical. First you have to be consulted. Symptoms are in minutes, starting with impaired breathing. Prior to death, the suggestion of this toxin. Lloyds are rumored to have been commissioned by the military. You want to just try, like, blind firing this piece of evidence and see if we can connect the dots from there?
That was a quick yes.
Well, I can think of one reason. The answer is yes.
What?
But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all this information from the newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut?
Of course he did. There could be no question for that. After all, when we were in the laboratory together, all we were told was that it was a terrible toxin.
There is one more important fact to consider. According to this witness, Mimani-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Where are you going with this, counsel?
Many Memo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant has somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it.
Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison while the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Membani-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put.
When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison.
At which point, Many Memo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What worrying information?
The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy and that it couldn't be readily obtained.
Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab.
And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death.
Extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poison that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable.
In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people.
Ah. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. And Bonnie-san would be no exception.
Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson, unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, right, Many Memo?
Yeah.
It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that that was a terrible mistake.
Because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable.
As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
But what good could that possibly do?
Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect.
Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But once he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would have ever suspected.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mark its use. Which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back.
Order, order, order. The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
Well, there are a number of... yes, I counter completely.
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that it's much the same way as he nurtures the remains of his top knot. He is clinging to lost hope.
Fucking got him.
Lost hope!
Oh, here we go again. Ooh, hats off. You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai!
Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? I'm bridging...
I'm swapping too fast, so I don't need a counter-argument!
What are you talking about?
It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts.
Facts? What are those? Explain yourself.
What's a fact?
It means I made it up. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here, my many memos, every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Shoujo News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word.
Surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin for being developed in the government. And yeah, all visitors are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be hard.
Was that blown the story wide open? See, I, writing many memo, a mere reporter from the Shoujo News, couldn't have possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory.
Ah.
Pen. How long till I can present this pen?
But there can't be quite any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill Miss Brett. How could he have done it? As you identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here.
What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin?
Damn nice. My point is this. There is one way that you, Many Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day.
I have heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. If the court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that the witness stole the poison?
Pen, pen, pen,
Pen, pen, pen, pen. The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen.
Ah!
A fountain pen? How could that possibly be relevant?
These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now.
Ah, I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else, these newfangled pens are merely a fad. My apes will last forever. Well, as forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Suck up a soup con of sumptuous ink and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye.
He's about to break his own neck. That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in their barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with the later.
What does all this talking of sucking up ink have?
And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course.
My word. Can this really be?
Well, Mini Memo-san? When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir.
More absurdity! That never happened! I was there!
True, we've heard that there are procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places?
No! I'm a little ashamed to say. If for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say.
I reminded the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Mini Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped?
Are you suggesting?
The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped your pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
There could have been any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink?
What?
As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, that pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Witness, what do you have to say in your defense?
Wahahaha! So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? Oh, I'm fucking Wolverine! I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Ah! You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen. That's wild speculation, nothing more. You thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that? Think again.
It looks as though it's gonna take one final decisive blow to finish this asshole. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends on whether or not the defense can prove he did with evidence.
Ha! No such evidence could
Fuck you! Mini Memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works.
What?
In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you.
Very well then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence.
This is it then. This is the final piece in the puzzle. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
So it's just like the bottle of stuff, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Counsel, what the hell is this?
It's wine, sir. Drink it.
Drink up.
This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question.
The poison is entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by myself and colleagues. It would be impossible to detect traces by any other method.
Your Honor, I'm already Tracer.
Or from another perspective, you can play Genji. Simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all can check for traces of poison.
A regent? What?
1 drop of the contents of this bottle onto the tip of your fountain pen, Memo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt.
No, you can't. I won't. I'm mobbing.
Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat.
Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once.
Erg. Ah. Not the camera! This isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to do this, trying to hold its head high as a civilized nation. It took a pawns and mighty pen in the name of justice, righteousness, many. Start with me. Let's fucking go there.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Damn.
Did I do it right? That was a Susato takedown, wasn't it?
Not quite. That was a Ryutaro takedown.
Well, that was cool.
Yeah. We assaulted a witness. The instant that first drop of the regent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present.
I saw it there in the lab. The poison. Jess, the devil got hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. Excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink at the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully.
And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen.
Yes, that's right.
Answer me one thing, Memo. Why did you steal it? For what purpose?
Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all, too juicy for a journal like me to pass up. Then why did the Englishwoman end up dead? Went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer enjoying full freedom and evading justice just by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she laughed in my face.
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian.
What did you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, is really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from.
That's when I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. So I walked over and discreetly put it into the glass she was holding.
What a terrible tale.
In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. Couldn't let her get away with what she'd done. And she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journo spirit getting all fired up. What's up, Gabe?
Hi, Gabe.
We are at the end of this one.
Yup. But we're about to acquit my good friend. I'd like to ask you something.
Yes.
You often talk about justice. But surely, as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought.
There's no justice in the press.
Sorry?
After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was. Oh.
A cover-up? What are you talking about?
I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say.
Oh, come on, doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction would have never come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. Oh, so this does go deeper.
What sort of deal?
I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. Hounds of Baskerville? You know what happened? The editor just tore the article up.
He came under pressure from the government, you mean?
If our government is going to let criminals walk free, they're going to crush the free press. And what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself?
Let's not forget, Mini-Memo-san, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett.
What?
The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all.
I suppose.
If I kill her, I'll be just like her. It would appear we have reached the conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Oh! Yep.
That's me.
That's me. Sorry, Your Excellency, just musing in a manly way here.
It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it was very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits.
Oh, no, Ryunosuke, you mean?
The way he handled the trial 9 months ago and the way you handled this one, it gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land.
That's very flattering, Your Excellency.
Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries.
Thank you.
So, Prosecutor Ouchie, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh,
Yep, it's time.
prosecutor?
I, Taketsuki of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it is withered and died here today.
Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it?
Silence! Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade, for that is the true path to Ouchieism.
Ouchie-ism?
Oh, one hopes that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness.
Sprig of my top knot, the time is ripe for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Taketsuki. Ah! Boink.
Oh. Could I please get Saseki, like, praying as an emote? Please. Please, holy shit.
I'll do it. Now, in regard to the defendant, Nabami-san.
Don't even verbally acknowledge it.
God!
Holy shit. Yes, Your Excellency.
I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you.
Not guilty.
Yay!
Woo.
Petals!
They say there's a little reindeer up there throwing them down.
Aw.
Court is adjourned.
Wow.
Nice. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san?
Cisato. Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there.
Ray and Father.
Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you... Oh no, I think I'm gonna cry.
It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too.
The only reason I'm still here is because of you.
Oh, no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there.
So she called her Susato like multiple times in the courtroom.
Yes.
I'm really worried about the repercussions of that. Susato, don't be so standoffish.
Stop that! Sorry?
We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. No more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, throw caution to the wind.
Time to drip in these antechambers.
I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryotaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow.
We're gonna see the mommy milkers.
Something.
I'll think about that.
At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good.
Yes, it was satisfying.
It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together?
Hope you're not looking at me, Ray.
Oh, my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not.
Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile.
You fought for your friend to the very last.
What? I can't hear you.
You fought for your friend as your father. I'm so proud of you, defense attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo.
It is such a shame the plague will take me tomorrow.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it without your help, Father. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now.
The judge is just standing to the side holding a lollipop like, you what? So I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. Oh, wait, actually? What is happening?
Ah, Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga. I hope you've been doing well.
Is it really you?
Yeah, I had to change my appearance for obvious reasons. But it's me, Susato Mikotoba.
I don't... So dashing, so divine. No! I'm not gay, you're gay. Doubly dashing, yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Miss Susato-san Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney.
There it is!
It's the fucking lie. Let's go. Wrap it up, folks.
We're done.
Ooh.
credits. Cut to
Of
credits.
course, Seki's so confused. I remember the first time I met him, he was in jail. He was in a conundrum, he was. Oh, that's a nice screenshot with Santa at the end there.
Yeah.
It was a shame he was the murder victim in the next trial.
Stop! No! Now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
Stunned. It's a truly impressive disguise. Even if I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector of the police bureau, who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less.
I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector.
Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see.
Just two. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event. I hope. Not.
I hope not.
Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
Well, I am a professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga.
What in the constant stream of blood that's been coming out of his mouth for 10 months.
Remember when he defended a murderess?
And then on the boat where he got beat up.
Though that didn't help you, did it? Kazuma-sama.
From my perspective, the Jedi are evil. I have to admit that I have mixed feelings. I mean, now that the truth has been lost forever.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the murder that the Englishman committed the end of last year.
Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it.
Dr. John H. Wilson. Yeah, I invited him to Japan personally.
Kind of fucked up when you think about it.
The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer.
We also might not know the answer because you defended her in a pretty large way, buddy.
Yeah, fucked up.
On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective.
Yeah, I remember Mr. Sholmes, of course.
Ah, my arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name.
Well, according to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson.
Holy shit, it's the first time. Yeah, me too, Ray. They finally said it out loud. Dr. Wilson.
I just can't believe that it's coincidence. I think the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again.
Damn true. So true, bestie. Please finally say it.
As you know, I traveled to Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born.
Thank God I wasn't knifed, you know? Yes, grandmother told me about it.
On returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at Imperial Yume University. And I also served another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yeah, I knew about that.
In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge.
Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? You weren't sick at all! It's been 2 months now since I returned.
Oh,
When
you
I-
read that as playing? I said I ate some bad brains.
That was slack! I went to the dentist!
When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you collapsed with a high fever and you were growing weaker by the day.
Where'd that news come from?
That's what I'd like to know. Because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of.
The hounds, the hounds, the hounds.
Dear me, do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear, I simp.
Oh. Pepe Sylvia! Pepe Sylvia!
Many Memo-san.
One throw wasn't enough for you. One last thing to say before they take me away, Professor.
Me?
I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on, and that visiting student's fate.
Big student. Jailbreak, you mean?
Oh, Kazuma. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. Papa!
Student of law? You mean
Papa!
Kazuma? What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma?
Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship. He'll never... Goodbye.
Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at?
Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. My accent also changes every time.
Oh my god.
I have always wanted to see one of the judges outside the room, and I literally had that thought this stream, and this is wonderful.
I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw had arrived, Eugene. It's a good job I came by. Yeah, thank you for dealing with him. I'll be there shortly.
Can we talk?
The trial's over. I'm not your excellency anymore. I'm just merely your friend, Seshiro Jigoku. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance, Susato.
Yeah.
Did you know all along from the start of the trial?
The judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk if Seshiro here hadn't known and he'd recognized you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand as an old friend. So, Seshiro, shall we? Yes, having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address.
Oh, do you? Before you go, Father.
Sorry, my dear, we'll have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date, but well done again, both of you. Goodbye.
Oh, thank you very much.
What did you think of my Seshiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. Been 16 years, actually.
What the fuck just happened?
About Kazuma.
God, what were the names on that fucking list? Was Kazuma?
Oh.
Was Naruhodo on there?
No, there was Kazuma, A. Shin, and there was one other name.
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba
I'll look it up.
Esquires, could I... A word?
Oh, yes, of course, Soseki-san. What is it?
I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting up again like this now. You see? Something I need to tell you.
Oh?
I believe it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England.
All right, let's go. Let's go. This I have to hear. Please, Soseki-san, tell me at once.
I will! In the next chapter. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report.
My father?
He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. It was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan.
What was it then? What was the particular part my father was interested in?
I don't really know exactly. Do you remember them? Those 2 terrible cases I was caught up in.
Of course, I could never forget.
Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case.
The The second one? You mean the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that had any members of the public is aware of is the first.
You seem confused.
Was he it too?
Where do you remember him from?
I remember him getting, like, fucking accused once, not
The knife in the window?
The knife in the window.
Huh, funny.
Is the next fucking case gonna be like a flashback case that they're like, oh yeah, we forgot? Oh my god. Well, I don't care. Anyway, the point is, seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings, of course! How could I forget? How could I fucking forget?
The haunted lodgings case. This case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought the whole business was over. But it seems I was wrong.
So dirty.
Perhaps that was the only way to start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
Such bad storytelling, come on!
Do you remember in the fourth case of the first game, there were like two characters staring through a window and they were like, who the fuck are we? And then you never saw them again?
Vaguely.
Oh, what's this? It's a tree.
こうしてかの英国留学生の事件は決着がついたのでございます。大死院に立ってほんの少し分かったような気がいたしました。なるほど様が異国の法廷で何に立ち向かっているのかを。今日はもう一つお知らせしたいことがあって筆を取りました。夏目漱石様がおっしゃった2つ目の事件。父は何も語りませんが、あの事件にはどうやら大きな謎を解く重要な鍵が眠っているようでございます。あの事件の記録はお部屋の棚の左隅に残しておきました。よろしければ振り返ってみてはいかがでしょうか。
I think I would.
日本はいよいよ夏の盛り。今日も抜けるような青空でございます。なるほど様、もう一度お会いしたく存じます。
Cute.
すさと。
Cute.
He fucking Susato slams the fucking gravestone.
Oh my
into the ocean.
god. I really thought that was the gravestone of her father.
Yeah, they really got me.
It's Takeshi Ouchi's grave.
God.
It's his hair.
Here lies Takeshi Ouchi's hopes and dreams.
Hey, you're now.
Oh no, what's the next one called?
Memoirs of the Clouded Heart.
So now what?
You want to watch the like? See if there's an opening.
See if
Like...
there's an anime cutscene or something. If not, then whatever.
Not, who cares?
ブライヤーロードの歩道で起こった姿なき犯人による冬の夜の惨劇。背中を刺され倒れた裏若きレディーが生死をさまよううちに事件は解決した。窮地に陥った東洋人の留学生が我が友人によって救い出されたその晩、ガス灯の刻むほの暗い影の中、再び奇怪な事件が闇を切り裂いた。当時の新聞の戦場的な見出しを記憶している者も多いだろう。悪霊に見入られた死の邸宅、死刑囚の呪い、ガス魔人の恐怖。現場に駆けつけた名探偵は瞬時にその真相を看破するのだが、それは悲劇の舞台の幕開けを告げるプレリュードに過ぎなかったのである。
Time for Closey.
No, not today.
Oh. Well, shit, shucks, and everything in between.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That was more Ace Attorney. Thanks for
Alright.
chilling with us for those who did.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeehaw.
Bye.